This question from Germany. Using the scarf is strongly prohibited in Turkey in the government offices, banks, and in universities. This is considered to be a symbol of the backwardness. In the time of the Second World War, the spies used to use parda to hide themselves. Should the Muslim ladies and girls stay away from the universities and not work in the offices by doing parda, or should they put off their scarf and practice the work of the society?
Translation, please. You see, it is interference in religion. There is no shadow of doubt about it. If any government forces girls to expose themselves when the society around is all a diseased society, when they are likely to be excited and unduly encouraged by the sight of a beautiful face which does not even hide its head, the cover its hair and the head. This is tantamount to inviting moral corruption, and as such I strongly condemn this tendency on the part of any government, not to mention Turkish government. So first of all, I advise that a strong voice should be raised and continuously raised against this nonsensical injunction, and it is in fact a violation of human rights. Everyone has a right to walk in the society and do the needful, and only the society can interfere to the degree that their behavior of the individual is obstructive to the profession or stands in the way of the profession which the person performs or to which the person belongs. According to the dictates of the profession, some softening can be not only realized, I think it is permissible in Islam, but not beyond that. So the question is, if a woman, a girl, can cover her head and yet attend the classes and do the needful in the university, even in science, in the pursuit of scientific subjects and experiments, then the government has no right to stop her. If it becomes in any way a hurdle in the way, then by that much Islam would also require that lady not to observe parda. So the society should not wait for the government orders. Even when they are free, the ladies should not observe parda, which interferes with their daily routine duties and professions. So this is very important, that we should understand the nature of parda and what licenses or what relaxation can be genuinely practiced in accordance with the overall guidance of Islam. We know that in the days of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, despite all the verses of parda, the society which was divided into different tiers, was required to observe parda of a different type. It was not one universal parda which was imposed on the entire society. Ya Nisan Nabi, addressing the ladies of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's house, the parda which is mentioned is a much stronger and stricter parda than it is advised to ordinary ladies in Islam. Moreover, we know from traditions that they worked in the field. The poor section of the ladies performed all sorts of works in the society, and such works could not have been carried out with any strict observation of Parda. Even in the current Muslim societies all over the world, there is a difference of the nature and strictness of observation of Parda in different classes of ladies. In Pakistan and India, even in the older days when they were very strongly religious, the farmers' wives and daughters, etc., helped them work in the field, and they performed all sorts of works and tasks without wearing any burqa or any strong veil, or any strict veil. So at the time of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, during the wars, Muslim ladies went to the field to help the wounded and the sick without any parda at all, because the dictates of the situation demanded that they should work freely and without any hindrance. The result was that sometimes, because of wind and things, even their normal cover was lifted and people had to turn their faces. So we must be realistic in understanding the obligations of Islam which the Holy Quran imposes upon the society. In view of what I've said, I am absolutely sure that no parda can be called Islamic which stands in the way of the woman performing normal functions of life. That's not parda. That parda is not advised anywhere in the Holy Quran. If a girl becomes a doctor, she can't wear parda and do operations and things. She can't run about in the patient's gallery and with the burqa fluttering behind or in front. It's not just practical, and it's not done. Yet one thing which can constantly be observed everywhere is the modesty of the person who wants to observe parda in the spirit of Islam. She must be as neatly dressed as possibly she can. She must try to cover her charms. She must not display them unnecessarily, and should not do makeup when she has to perform her professional work. So with these conditions properly met, I don't think just the lifting of veil from the face would in any way violate Islamic Parda. Now that is my general observation. But as far as the colleges, schools and universities are concerned, I object to the Turkish government's or Turkish legislative body to legislate against parda in colleges and schools and universities. Particularly covering of the head is made, I think, punishable by law if a student can be expelled from the university. There is absolutely no sense, no justice, no justification for such a stupid ordinance or legislation, because we know from our experience that in all the free societies in America, in England, elsewhere, where Ahmadis girls observe parda and get education, their parda never stands in the way of their education. In fact, these are the girls who procure the best marks. There is an Ahmadi girl from Multan, daughter of Ikramullah Sahib and Amatul Hay is the name of the mother. Huh? Yes, yes. They brought her up in such wonderful atmosphere of common sense and balance that she was promoted and encouraged to get education to the highest level that she could. Yet she was also advised that she should observe all the requirements of Parda wherever she goes. And when I came over to England, she was still here, and she had already passed the doctorate from the University of Oxford and procured the highest mark. She had won gold medal, and she observed Parda. Parda, when I say Parda, I mean wearing burqa like this, like Aisha is doing. Her Parda was very similar to Aisha. And nowhere did the university hinder her resolution to continue to observe Parda and also to continue to get education. She attended classes, she attended laboratories, she went to all sorts of experimentations during all this. And it's an honor to her, an honor to the institution of Parda, that she got first class first and was a gold medalist at the University of Oxford. When the prize distribution ceremony came, that was a problematic moment for the university, but not for her. She said, I'm not going to receive my medal from your king or whoever comes and shake hand with him. I can receive the medal without shaking hand. They said, yes, that will be done. She said, I'll not eat with men sitting next to them. He said, oh, they said, okay. Come and we'll organize a separate dinner for you. So this also pays great tribute to the British society as well. Very courteous behavior, very understanding behavior, and very correct behavior on the part of the British society. Because they knew, as far as the requirements of education are concerned, this girl does not permit her Parda to stand in the way of the education. So they understood the limit to which they could go. As long as we do not see her Parda interfering with her task, we have no right to interfere. This is the most beautiful example of British correctness, when they choose to be correct. As compared to that, look at the Turkish legislation and government. They claim to be a Muslim government, and they violate the human rights in the name of Islam. You see, this is violation of human rights. This is why they did not commit it. They knew every student has a right, but we will not permit her to sacrifice the cause of education for any other sake. She said, no, I will maintain both in a perfect balance. And that is exactly what she proved and demonstrated to the whole world. So that is why I tell the Ahmadi girls everywhere to preserve Parda, to protect Parda as best as they possibly can. But if they have to lift their veils during the class hours, I don't object. But when they walk out in the streets, they must return to the same Parda which they used to observe before. But there are some Ahmadi girls in America who do not, benefit from this relaxation at all. They say, no, we will observe Parda in the university like we should observe elsewhere, and we will see to it that our rights are preserved and protected. So one such girl wrote to me that she is doing it, but she's finding it really hard, because when she goes to the class, walks to the streets of university and roads, she finds people booing at her and making noises and chuckling and doing this and that, and even in the class she feels a bit awkward. So I said, you have done it for a good cause. You have done it committing yourself to the pleasure of God. So if you are true and honest in what you told me, then why should you fear the disrespect shown to you by the people? If God grants you the honor of His pleasure, if He bestows upon you the respect which is bestowed on the godly people, what care you should have for the rejection of the society? I said, I wrote, remember the prophets. How could they suffer so much at the hands of the society without being unruffling in the least? They remained steadfast and whole and strong, only because they knew Allah looked at them and Allah loved them, so they cared not for the hatred of mankind. So things to that effect. I don't remember exactly how much and to what and what far, but I wrote back to her, said, be steadfast, I'll pray and you pray for yourself and let's see. Within a matter of 2 weeks, I suppose, or maybe 3 weeks, I received a completely different letter from her. She said, I remain steadfast as you promised, as you advised, and I have seen a complete transformation in the attitude of the society. Even the most hooligan boys, notorious for the hooliganism, they respect me and bow to me out of respect. And nobody takes licenses. My teachers respect me. And if they're sitting, when I enter, they stand up. And one of the teachers told her that you have overwhelmed me with us, the society, with your dignity and honor and total lack of any complex. So from then on, it was just plain smooth sailing for her throughout her career. And the same thing is reported from everywhere else. From Switzerland, I remember a girl came to me who was pleading the case of her in fact abandoning the Parda because of the social pressures upon her from the university. But because she was the daughter of a pious parents, and she also respected religion, so she did not build the case as straightforwardly as she could have. She talked in a circumvent way, kept on building the atmosphere and said, what can I do? I said, do that. And she said, well, then what can I do, when everybody does this to me and does that to me, and how can I concentrate on my education and so on and so forth? I don't think it's possible. So I said, then don't go to university. This is the question, the last part of your question which I'm now answering. I said, if you can't do it, do not go to the university. Leave it. This was, in fact, the decisive thing in the whole discussion. She looked at her parents absolutely helplessly. And I said, if you can't suffer for a good cause, do not pursue that cause. If you have the courage and strength to suffer, then go ahead and do it. When she went back, because she loved to learn more, she decided to suffer. But the suffering was only short-lived, just temporary. It proved nothing when she went through it. And then next time they came, she was a completely different person. They came to meet me. She was laughing and relaxed and no problem whatsoever. It all depends on your attitude. So I think we must try to bear upon the Turkish government that they should be ashamed of this. Because when things happen of the same nature in France, in Germany, etc., then Turkish people protest as Muslims. And there are sometimes street riotings because of these protests. And recently law was passed about girls not permitted to cover their heads in the universities and schools. And violent protest was staged by the Muslim masses, the Turkish people being most prominent among them. The Turkish and these from the North Africa, Algerians. When I visited France and they told me of this, I said, this is not the right way of doing it. Better go to the court of law. Tell some students themselves to sue the government for interfering in their basic human right. The parents should not raise any question. The representatives of Islam should not raise the question of Islam being, in any way violated or insulted. What should they care for Islam when you don't care in your own countries? But one thing they do care for is human rights. So tell your girls to sue them in the court and say, why are we deprived of our fundamental right of covering our head if we so want? And also we have an urgency about it and a compulsion about it, because the society has gone wrong. Even we can't trust our teachers. Daily the newspapers and media, the other media is full of news of rape and violation of girls' modesty and so on and so forth. We must not permit them to think that we are available in the market. And they won the case. The French government had to withdraw those restrictions. So if in the free world, which is not Muslim, at least they have respect for fundamental human rights, why can't Turkey show at least that respect? And when they do such things in the name of Islam, they are committing a grave crime of blemishing the image of Islam. Right? Yet, at the same time, parda of that sort in the school is not something of such fundamental nature, as girls must always make the choice, prefer not to go to the university if that is the sacrifice they have to offer. This is what I'm advising the Turkish girls. They must raise the protest, and those who do not want to submit to such false authority, they have a right not to be educated in Turkey. If they can possibly go out, they should go out and get educated in Germany or France or anywhere else. But at the same time, those who can't help this, I don't advise them not to be educated. While in the university, they should observe this, but cover themselves properly elsewhere, otherwise. And when they return to the normal society, they should immediately return to the normal course of wearing their heads and observing veil as much as they would wish to do. Right? Please.